Hey, that's a pretty sweet mug there, Ben.
Sure is.
Tell me about it. What is it?
It's a big old cup of mind your business.
Oh,
No, actually, it's a really nice mug. It's also got the hired gun QR code on it. It's pretty sweet.
ooh,
I dig it. We're moving into merch territory.
merch territory. Freelancing. Why is everyone racing to the bottom? I understand why these platforms exist. One, we know how hard it is to find our first clients.
Oh, for sure.
It sucks, right?
Yep.
Like, you think that you just need the easy button, right?
Well, and like everybody always thinks about it and they're like, I just got to find a client. So I'm just going to go out there and one's going to magically show up. And even like when you know people, when we were first getting started, there was a whole list of people that were supportive and they're like, hey, we need to talk. I want to build an app. And like none of them panned out. So it's hard to get started. Because,
it's scary.
Yeah, for sure.
It's easy when you think that freelancing sites like Upwork or Fiverr, when you're hiring talent, it's going to be easier to find it, which it is, especially like if you're not in the circle that you're hiring for.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you don't know where to find people, you're going to just instinctively go to these channels, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like with anything else. If you don't know the right spot to look, where does everybody go? Hey, I need something. I'm going to go to Amazon.
How many clients do we talk to that have failed projects from
Right.
freelance platforms?
Probably my favorite one so far of all time is this potential client that we talked to where she said that she'd been trying to build this thing that she wanted built for like literally years. She had this string of failed freelancers from like Upwork and Fiverr and all of these other sites, and even a couple of personal contacts. And then the most recent one told her flat out, I'm sick. I can't finish the job. Everything's fine. It just like disappeared.
You're like, you're sick forever? Or what?
That is a terminal cold right there. I don't know what your problem is. But like you run into that kind of stuff where they just drop the ball or they ghost you, they disappear. And that's a major risk that you have going on those platforms. And like you were saying, it's hard to know where to look. And with the Amazon point, the problem is that when everybody's looking for talent, immediately what they kind of go towards in the beginning is they look for decent talent, but they also want whatever's cheapest.
Yeah. And then that forces the talent who you actually don't want to be the discount version, right? You still want quality work from them.
Oh, for sure.
So they're undercutting their hourly rate just to land projects. Because freelancing, you have to build your name before you start even getting work. So you work for way less than you're worth. And honestly, you probably will not give a shit about the project you're working on eventually. The first couple might be exciting, but then you realize like if you're always giving a 50 to 75% discount on what your actual labor is worth, you're not going to care. You're not going to deliver high expectations anymore.
Yeah, and especially like early on where freelancers are just starting out and, you know, I've been doing this for 3 months and I'm trying to get this going, but I'm making no money. And they're trying to get out of like that 9 to 5, which is what most freelancers are trying to do. Suddenly the 9 to 5 looks attractive because at least they're going to get paid what they're worth. And you can only put off bills so long. And so they kind of give up because they're in this race to the bottom.
And like, to your point, with that being said, like when you're constantly, I'm just going to wait for that truck.
It's fine.
When you're constantly being beat out by competitors with less quality work and you know that they're not as skilled as you just because they'll undercut you every time. So the only way you're landing work now is you have to undercut someone who's not as skilled as you.
Yep. And it really ruins everything for the freelancer. And the business person that's looking for work is also getting screwed by this whole setup because now they are only seeing the lower quality talent. They're only getting the lower quality talent. And it's hard to kind of differentiate that because most customers aren't even going to know how to tell what the difference is between what they're getting, especially with software. Because first off, programmers are all opinionated. And I have not met a software engineer who did not look at somebody else's work and go, well, this person is an idiot.
Right.
This
Like
is
anytime
100%
you inherit code, you just want to like, what? Because you don't understand it or you wouldn't do it that way. So you're going to knock it, right?
Yeah. And clearly your way is the only way. But they have a really hard time dealing with that, and they can't really tell what they're getting, and they can't tell the difference between the cheapest option and what you would deliver.
Like, honestly, these platforms kind of set up everybody for failure.
Yes.
Because the client doesn't know. Well, they're trained to go for the cheapest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Highest ranking, cheapest hourly rate. They have to be good.
Yeah, and like it's this vicious cycle because the cheapest person gets the work, so they get the reviews. Meanwhile, the not cheapest person is sitting there like, when am I going to get work? What do I got to do? Who do I have to kill to get a freelancing job here?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not getting the reviews. But everybody's seeing, I got a 5-star review because I left this a week after it got completed and I haven't run into the bugs yet that I'm going to end up hiring this other person to do anyways.
Yeah.
And so they're not getting any work. They're getting nothing. And this person that is the cheapest option is getting these 5-star reviews at the time of delivery. And so they're getting pushed for, hey, hire this person. Their work is great. It can be really hard to communicate to potential clients with what little attention they're going to get during the proposal. Like when you go to apply for these jobs from the freelancer side, you have to submit a proposal. You're hoping that they hire you. It's kind of like submitting for a job. You send in your resume.
Yeah.
And you've got maybe 5 seconds of this person's attention.
And you're doing like 20 plus a day. Like proposals are not easy.
No.
They take a lot of time.
Especially if you follow the advice that a lot of the gurus of these platforms give, which is you don't want to send out, and I mean this is true, but you don't want to send out a template proposal to everybody because everybody can tell it's a template, it feels cold, and it's going to get ignored, and all of that stuff. So, like me as a freelancer, I'm sitting there writing out 20 plus customized proposals a day, and that's literally all I'm doing and not hearing back from anything.
Well, and then all the advice you get is like, well, just spend half your day doing that and the other half working. That sounds horrible to me. Like you don't actually get to do what you love. You're just chasing potential clients down over and over. And if you don't race to the bottom, you'll never get them.
Yeah. And everybody focuses on like, you need these tiny little details in your proposal to get their attention. Because like I was saying, you got 5 seconds-ish. And it's kind of like when you're hiring for something and you're comparing resumes side to side, you can get kind of a feel for somebody based on the differences and based on what they say in there. But it's also important to remember that no matter what, people can work in high profile jobs and have fancy titles and still suck at their job.
Yeah, very
big
true.
time. And it's hard to get a feel for that. Like, yes, you've got the option of a portfolio, but a lot of people don't even bother looking at those. And
Right.
Especially with software, how to the layman, to somebody who's not technical, take you, for example, you're mostly a back-end developer.
Yeah.
Now, you've got your YouTube channel, you've got all this other stuff going on, and that is social proof, which is something that's super important for this. But your average back-end developer who does not have a YouTube channel, who does not have all that stuff, what are they going to show a client, a potential client, that this potential client is going to understand?
Dude, it's so hard because you're either flaunting your skills, right? Like, hey, look, I can set up your DevOps. I can do Postgres databases, or, I write Elixir APIs. Those are all great words, right? But no one can see your work. I can show them apps that I've done, right? But it's actually like, if it's connected to my API, great. Like it might be responsive, but they have no idea.
See all the data in this table? Yeah. I put that there.
I show them my tables. Be like, do you see how flattened out this object is? It's beautiful.
It's hot.
You should see the relationships between these two tables.
This one time, I shaved 0.13 seconds off the query.
My favorite is a joiner table. Like, no one knows any of this stuff. It is hard.
Join
and
daddy.
I was so reluctant to do other means to get attention to myself for a very long time. It's like, it's a lot of work to do YouTube videos, podcasts, write proposals for people, and work on your day job.
Right. And what a lot of people do as a strategy to get work is, like you were saying, you've got to undercut them, but they do more than undercut, because when you don't have the reviews there, when you don't have the social proof, and it's a lot harder because we'll talk about it more in a second, but you can't really contact people or give them links where they can contact you outside of that platform. So it's hard to give any social proof. So when you don't have those reviews, what often happens is people will reach out in their proposals and they will say, hey, normally I would charge you $1,500 to do this, but I really need your review. So I'm going to do it for a Subway sandwich if you will give me a 5-star review.
Yeah.
And you got to build up that library of reviews, and it's a whole process. And there's this guy that I follow on a couple different forms of social media, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. His name's James Brindle. And he did a really great video on how you can make money on these platforms. He is a pretty heavyweight kind of guy in terms of the work that he does. He's worked with major brands like Google, for example. And he has made over 100K on Upwork alone. But the point that he brings up is he wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he's made $100,000 on this platform, but he posits that your time would be better spent just building your business elsewhere.
Yeah.
And not fighting this fight. Because even him, with all of these clients, with all of this stuff, he was new to Upwork and basically are starting from scratch there. So he comes on to Upwork, and him, with all of his experience and with all of these clients, he's still got to reach out to people and go, hey, I really need the work, so please hire me and I will cut 50% off.
Yeah.
And he was like, eventually after I've got a library of reviews, I go back to my normal rate. But for the couple of months that it took to get there, I was working for way less than I should have. And so that's one of the problems there. And another is that using these platforms is also super risky. It can actually prevent your business from growing. And part of that is you're putting yourself and your agency, if you have one, at risk by having a dependency there. Like, what happens if I build this business on Upwork and for whatever reason, Upwork shuts down today?
Yeah.
Or my profile gets banned for whatever reason, or they remove me from the platform.
Right.
What happens then?
Yeah. Well, and just like that, like any business where you're like fully, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you solely rely on like third-party things, and it's only one. Like if it's only Upwork, what do you do if they shut down? It's so dangerous. Yeah. And then like what
Can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And then you were about to say something.
Sorry, guys. We were interrupted. Let's get our shit back together. But yeah. But if one of the platforms shut down and it's your sole income, you're screwed, right? And that gets me into like the terms of service. Like you don't have any way to communicate with any of your clients from these platforms outside of the platform. So if it shuts down, you don't have access to your clients anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't looked into it myself, but the number that I had heard from somebody on YouTube talking about their experience with this situation of they had to talk to their clients outside of the platform they were using because it wasn't working out at the time. Mm-hmm. It cost them, according to them, like $18,000 to $20,000 to buy the rights to talk to this client outside of the platform.
That's insane. You can't even build your own client list. And so if you put all this effort, you're lowballing, you're racing to the bottom with all your proposals, right? Just to get reviews. And then let's pretend the platform shuts down overnight. You have nothing to show for it. And now you have to start your own like dev shop or freelancing service without a client list.
Yep. And it's And even if the platform shut down, there's always that fear of legal repercussions if you went after the clients or if they came after you and what was left of the company came after you. Like with that situation of my profile got blocked or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's a real concern because the platform still exists. And with the whole rating idea, that's another problem. I've heard a lot of Upwork experts talk about how you need a 5-star rating, and that's true, and it needs to be no lower than like 4.8-ish. Otherwise, people get concerns and your life gets hard. And not having that can really sink your business. Even if your business is amazing and you do everything right, we've all had those clients or those customers who are a little more difficult. Is that a nice way to put it?
That's a nice way to put it.
It's a very nice and not explicit rating.
There are like, a handful of clients you wouldn't grab a beer with.
When the contract ends, you breathe a sigh of relief and block them.
And then you're like, and our feature is frozen. Feature freeze.
But, having those clients, even if you've done everything right, that one client can still sink your business. Like they give you a 1-star rating, and especially early on, that can take, if you've got 5 jobs.
Yeah.
And 4 of them are 5 stars and they loved your work, and one of them is a 1-star, you just sank your rating.
1 star, like weighted at like 25% at that point, or
yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be 20%, but
did you say 4?
I said 5 clients.
I never claimed to be good at math.
1 out of 5. 100 divided by... It's okay. It's not like he does back end or anything where calculations are important.
It's not like I'm an engineer or anything.
But anyways, you just sank your rating with 1 client. So that's also a concern with those. Like when you're running your own business, you can manage that stuff and you can get ahead of it and you can take care of it in review sections or reply or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not like you really have that option with these platforms.
Yeah.
And another thing is, like, speaking about tailoring your business and having to run it off of these platforms, is you're going to end up tailoring your business and the services that you offer to whatever the pace and the expectation of that platform is. A lot of agencies and freelancers don't really have time to spread themselves across everything. It's pretty rare that you find somebody who's on Upwork and Fiverr and this website and a whole slew of them and running their own lead generation. It's just too hard for them to do, and it's not efficient. So you're going to be working off of probably one of them. And if you're on Fiverr, you're tailoring what you do to match the style of Fiverr, which is products as a service. Like you build out this product based on what you do. It's more of I will build you a backend for $1,000 and people go and buy your product. Whereas Upwork, it's more of hey, tell me about your project and I'll get you a bid. But even then, it's hard to bid on those because you run into a lot of the same problems that you run into with clients you're working with outside of that platform, but you're more limited. Like it's hard to get all of the details that you're going to need to build out a bid.
Yeah, and
without submitting a bid.
They expect like a full proposal off usually very vague requirements.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you want? And you can't communicate with them without submitting a proposal.
Yep.
So
you have to. And on top of that, you're getting charged for submitting the proposal.
Right? Oh, that's right. Dude, that pissed me off when like Upwork started charging like to know that you're a serious freelancer.
To know that we're into it, we're going to charge you a monthly fee.
But if you really want to be seen, you have to add extra carrots to your proposal, and you can add more than we're asking, and we'll put you at the top of the list.
Yeah, it's very pay to play. And
carrots are dollars. That's
real. Thank you for clarifying.
I have to tip.
Imagine an online service and they're like, we're literally going to ship more carrots on your behalf.
We charge our freelancers.
Your client is a horse.
We have to actually tip our possibly future clients just to look at our proposals.
Right.
Like it's the most backwards thing ever.
It is not a great setup.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of problems with those. And that's really kind of why we stopped using Fiverr and Upwork to try and find clients to begin with.
Yeah. We first started HGA. We weren't getting anything. We weren't even getting talks, or we would, and we would get ghosted. Like, so we like kind of hit a panic mode, right?
Yeah.
We're like, we'll do everything. So
well, and people had like these ridiculous expectations. Like
Mhm.
from the game development side of it, I was getting, you're invited to apply for this job where somebody wants a Call of Duty clone and their whole budget is $500.
Woo.
Like, no.
Yeah. So
That's not enough for the designs.
I want to say Ben and I gave Upwork and Fiverr as a studio, mind you, not individual freelancers.
Yeah.
We gave it a month. And I honestly think we took it seriously for a week.
Yeah.
And then it was garbage because we were making proposals, you know, that take you 30 minutes to write and to vague requirements, and we don't actually know what they want. And we you know, our time is valuable and we deliver quality work and we're proud of our work. So we bid our fair rate. And so we were very quickly overlooked because we had realistic numbers on building entire apps and platforms.
Yeah, like that one guy, his app, gosh, what was it? It was some travel, like almost Uber-like thing. I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
the
yeah.
details. But
it
anyways,
was like I want to say it was like a food truck
yeah,
app. Or
something like that. But his budget was like $6,000 for the whole app, which, I mean, to somebody who's new to everything and has never seen the actual cost of software development before, that might sound reasonable. I don't know.
I think we swooped in with a nice $86,000
Right?
quote.
And he was getting quotes for that number.
Yeah.
But based on all the features that he was talking about, even being generous and vague with it, we priced it out and we were like, no.
There's no way.
This is going to be almost $100,000.
Right.
And
we underbidded.
Yeah, we underbid.
We even
were
talked
let's
about
go low.
Let's go low because it's still going to be out of the freaking ballpark.
Yeah. And I'm sure he probably got some work done, but it goes back to that quality thing. And when you're looking at what do I invest into my business, that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like if somebody was starting they were opening a production studio. They were going to take video for people. They were going to make edits. And they were like, you know what? These mics are out of my price range. And I don't really have the money for like a super nice camera. So instead, we're going to use the built-in mic on a 1080p Logitech.
I was going to
webcam.
suggest a can and a string.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, that works too.
But I can't afford the can.
And instead of having a space to film, because they're too expensive, I did find this extra shed in a fish market.
Excellent.
Like, it's not going to work out.
Yeah. So we cut it off really quick and we started putting all our energy into just building our own client list, because you hire HGA, you're paying for a service, not our time, but a result.
Yeah.
You want an app to be made. We're not going to tell you that we worked 60 hours on it this week. No, we're going to have our deliverables and you're going to be happy with the result.
And I mean, really, other than look at us, we're so cool, we spent so much time on your project.
Yeah.
As
you actually probably want the quality to stay up and it to be done relatively quick. And then, you know, we're pretty freaking efficient.
For real. I spent 120 hours on this week. You're probably exhausted and the quality is probably horrible.
Exactly.
Oh, geez.
Because, yeah, it's a lot easier to find work when we promise the result, not hours, because we can give you an exact quote for a project. And we do feature-based pricing. So you're not sitting there thinking like, well, did I get my money's worth this week? Did they really work 40 hours? Like they billed me for 40 hours. Did I really get my 40 hours worth? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And every hourly situation I've ever been in, that has always in one way or another come up, like with a client, to the point of there was this one client, and this was not I was under delivering or anything thing. This was just how things worked out with clients on hourly. One client asked me if I would be willing to install tracking software so that during my workday they could check in and make sure that I was at my computer working. And I'm just like, what? Why? What? First off, do you think you're my only client? And second off, no, you can't see my screen, because that was another thing they asked for. What if I've got another client's stuff open? And third, if you're getting what you asked for, what's the big deal here? And on top of that, Chris Doe, actually, another person that I follow, had really good advice on the whole hourly situation and this exact thing. If somebody's working hourly and it takes them 40 hours of work to do something, are you just as happy with it if they work 60 hours on the thing? Like, if you're getting what you're looking for, are you valuing the end result, or do you want to make sure that they're sweating for the 60 hours?
Right.
Because the way that he phrased it was, if I quote you for 40 hours for something and it only takes me 30, should I charge you for less for the same result? And the guy was like, well, absolutely, that saves me money. And he's like, cool, what if it takes me 80 hours? Should I bill you for that? Well, I guess. But that's not really what we agreed on, and it's okay. So you value the end result,
not the amount of time. Exactly. Like, look, we love what we do, but we also do it for money. So we have to put food on the table and all of that. So when you start nickel and diming and not trusting who you're working with, like, it's hard. It's hard as a freelancer. So
my wife really gets excited when I tell her we can eat this week.
Well, the way I look at it is the way we give back is just delivering our clients a quality project that matches or exceeds their expectations. At the end of the day, that's all you care about. Like, we will deliver you a project that can scale as your user base grows and you have a quality app. You have everything that you paid for, you know? Any add-ons?
No. You were fantastic. Great job.
Oh, thanks. And all right, so to sign this off, there's this guy I follow called Bradley, and he posts stuff. He's not a freelancer or anything. Dude just knows how sales work and all that good stuff, but always has like really good like one-liners or like 2 sentences that really just like stick with you. And he once goes, you can tell people you do things 3 ways: fast, cheap, and good. And then you tell them that you can pick 2, and they'll say, well, cheap and good. And then you say, okay, but it won't be fast. And then they'll instantly shift and say, all right, fast and good. And then, well, it won't be cheap. Yeah. And so that is how it works when you hire an expertise to do something. You want and expect quality work out of.
And typically when you're going with these platforms, it sucks for the freelancer, but it also sucks for the person hiring, because what you're likely going to end up with, especially when the freelancers are stuck underbidding each other and trying to cut costs, they're cutting corners too. So it's very rare that you're going to end up with cheap and good off of these platforms. Right. You're going to end up with cheap and fast.
Right.
And so nobody wins here.
Nobody wins. You have a software project you outgrow really quick, or it just doesn't even scale and you rebuild it before you even get out of beta.
And then you're stuck spending all of the money that you were going to spend anyways, plus whatever you paid this other person.
Oh, that's another thing we'll get a lot too. And I feel for these people. And like anyone that goes through the mistake of hiring a bad developer, it sucks, which is why we started this podcast to help people avoid that, right?
That's what they get.
But
just kidding.
Well, but they'll almost be like, well, I already put 20 grand into this. And like, I'm sorry, but like, you're not getting a $20,000 discount.
Oh, well, if you've already put in put $20,000 into the Universal Developer Fund.
Yeah.
Like, let me just go withdraw that. I don't.
Be like, oh, well, do you have a code base that we can work off of? And it's usually a no. Like,
well, even when it's a yes,
it's usually not going to be good.
Yeah.
And we'll look at it. We always entertain the idea that they have good code.
Like, if there's a way for us to use it
yeah.
effectively and still get the same result, then sure, by all means.
Right.
Like, a class written by somebody else is the same as a class written by me if it's done correctly.
Yeah.
Like, and that's fine. But most of the time what you're getting is subpar quality work done quickly, and then they abandoned you.
Exactly.
Or it didn't work.
So, there you have it. Freelancing, the race to the bottom. We all lose.
Just don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I know it's a big, scary world, but you can figure it out.
Jacob loves racing to those bottoms.
I love racing on the bottom. Wait.